Welcome back, brothers and sisters. This documentary is going to be more of an expository style documentary rather than a narrative documentary like it had been previously in the other sections which were completed. This section today, which we are going to be getting into, is section 1.3.2, the first human migrations. Without further ado, let's get into it. The descendants of Sham, Kham, and Yapath. Core anchors here, according to Hadabar, are Bereshit, chapter 9, 18 through 19, Bereshit, chapter 10, 1 through 32, Karantim, Braisan, or 1 Corinthians, chapter 1, 1 through 27. All post-flood populations trace back to the three Bunim, or sons of Noach. Their lineages carried not only genetics but culture, personality, and early ideological tendencies that would influence how civilizations developed. The context of the Bunim, or sons of Noach. After the Great Flood, Noach and his family and his three Bunim, Sham, Kham, and Yapath, and their wives became the ancestors of the repopulated world. The narrative emphasizes that humanity was restarted through them, and their descendants laid the foundation for various goyim, or nations, of the ancient world. Understanding these lineages helps illuminate the origins of many early civilizations and provides context to the history of Hadabar. Descendants of Sham. Genealogical anchors according to Hadabar are Bereshit chapter 10, 21 through 31, Bereshit chapter 11, 10 through 26, and Bereshit chapter 12, 1 through 3. Sham is considered the ancestor of the Shamim, or Semitic peoples, which include significant groups such as the Abrim, known as Hebrews, Arameans, the Assyrians, the Elamim, or Elamites. The regions associated with Sham would become the theological center of the world, lands deeply connected to the unfolding of the covenant. His Bunim and their associated goyim, or nations, are Alam, the Alamim, or Elamites, settled in present-day southwestern Iran; Ashur, the Assyrians, who established a powerful empire in the ancient Near East; Aparksad, ancestor of Abar, from whom the Abrim are descended, leading to Aprachim; Lud, believed to have settled in Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey; Aram, the Arameans, who influenced the region known as Aram, which is modern-day Syria, and contributed to the Aramaic language. The land dispute between Kham and Sham. This is very important. Here's the background. According to accounts written in Hadabar, Kham was the second Bun of Noach and had four Bunim. Their names were Cush, Mytsraym, Put, and Kanaan. After the flood, the Bunim of Noach were allocated territories. Here's the incident. The specific incident regarding land ownership occurs in the book of Yubilim, or Jubilees, which elaborates on the narrative written in Hadabar. Kanaan, the Bun of Kham, is said to have refused to join his brothers in their designated land beyond the Nile. Instead, he settled in the land of Lebanon, which was part of the inheritance given to Sham. The timing of the dispute. This event is described in Yubilim, or Jubilees, chapter 10, 29 through 34, where it is indicated that the actions of Kanaan led to a curse from Noach. The timeline suggests that this dispute occurred after the flood, during the period when the descendants of Noach were establishing their territories. The exact date is not specified, but it is understood to be shortly after the division of lands among the Bunim of Noach. Here's the conclusion. The settlement of Kanaan in the territory of Sham is viewed as an act of sedition, leading to the curse which Noach had placed on him and his descendants. This narrative highlights the tensions between the descendants of Kham and the descendants of Sham. Descendants of Kham. Genealogical anchors here according to Hadabar. Bereshit chapter 10, 6 through 20, Bereshit chapter 9, 22 through 27, and Yeshayahu, or Isaiah chapter 19, Nahum chapter 3. Kham is often associated with the peoples of Africa and parts of the Near East. From Kham descended the early African, Mytsraym, or Egyptian, and certain Mesopotamian cultures, as well as the lands of Kanaan. Kham's lineage is strongly associated with early technological, architectural, and agricultural advancements. Many early imperial structures find their origins here. His Bunim, or sons, and their associated goyim, or nations, include Cush, often identified with the region of Nubia, which is modern Sudan and parts of Ethiopia; Mytsraym, or Egypt, the peoples associated with ancient Mytsraym. Put, generally linked to regions in North Africa, possibly Libya. Kanaan, who are the Kanaanim, who inhabited the lands of Kanaan, which includes modern-day Yasharal, which for some reason today is called Israel, and Palestine. Descendants of Yapath. Genealogical anchors according to Hadabar are Bereshit chapter 10, 2 through 5, Yahaskal or Ezekiel chapter 38 and chapter 39, Tahalim or Psalms chapter 72, 10. Yapath is traditionally linked to the peoples of Europe and parts of Asia. From Yapath arose the Indo-European peoples, whose future expansions would shape continental identities, stretching from Asia Minor into Europe and beyond. Hezbonim and their associated Goyim, or nations, are Gumar, often associated with the Cimmerians and later the Germanic peoples. Magog, linked to the Scythians, who lived north of the Black Sea. Madai, associated with the Medes, who settled in what is now Iran. Yawan, identified with the Greeks. Tubal, associated with the peoples of the region of the Black Sea, possibly the Turks. Mashak, which is linked to the Slavs. Tiras, associated with the Etruscans of Italy. Here's the historical significance. The descendants of the Bunim of Noach played crucial roles in the development of ancient civilization and the spread of cultures across the globe. Their genealogies, as outlined in Hadabar, provide insights into the origins of many Goyim, or nations, and the historical context of narratives in Hadabar. Understanding these lineages helps illuminate the connections between ancient peoples and their modern descendants, as well as tracing who is who across timelines and bloodlines and correctly identifying the origins of certain traditions, customs, and adopted religious practices throughout history since the flood. The lineages of Sham, Kham, and Yapath. This is in detail to understanding the ancestral lines of the Bunim of Noach. The lineage of Sham. The Shamim, or Semitic peoples, genealogical overview. Sham, the eldest of the Bunim of Noach, is considered the forefather of the Shamim peoples, which include significant groups such as the Abarim, the Arameans, Assyrians, and Alamim, or Elamites. Sham is often associated with the peoples who primarily inhabited northeast Africa, modern-day Middle East, and inhabited small portions of Western Asia. The lineage of Sham is described as follows. Alam, the Alamim, or Elamites, settled in the region known as Alam, which corresponds to present-day southwestern Iran. They were among the earliest civilizations in the region, establishing a notable culture that interacted with Mesopotamian societies. Abraham traveled from Ur of Chaldeans to the Promised Land. He was able to speak to the peoples from that land, because their language was very similar. Ashur, the descendants of Ashur founded Assyria, a powerful empire that played a crucial role in the ancient Near Eastern history. Assyria's capital, Nineveh, became synonymous with military might and cultural development. Aparksad. From Aparksad came Abar, or Eber, considered the ancestor of the Abarim, or Hebrews. This lineage leads directly to the patriarch, Abraham, making Aparksad a significant figure in the development of the Goy, or nation of Yasharal. Lud. The descendants of Lud are less prominently detailed, but are believed to have settled in Anatolia, contributing to the early cultures there. Aram, or the Arameans, who descended from Aram, established the region known as Aram, which is modern-day Syria, influencing the development of the Aramaic language, which would become widely used across the Near East. Bereshit, chapter 9, 26. And he said, Baruch be Yahuwah, the Eloah of Sham, and let Kanaan become his servant. Here's the significance and cultural context. Sham's descendants are pivotal in early Mytsraym contexts. According to Hadabar, Sham's line leads to Yahusha Mashiach through Abraham, emphasizing a direct link to the promises in Hadabar. The lineage of Kham. The Khamim, genealogical overview. Kham is associated with the peoples who inhabited parts of mainland Africa and northeast Africa, which is now called the Middle East. His Bunim were Cush, Mytsraym, Put, and Kanaan. Kush. The descendants of Kush are linked to the ancient kingdom of Kush, which was centered in what is now Sudan. The Kushim played a significant role in the development of early Nile Valley civilization, interacting with and sometimes rivaling ancient Mytsraym. Again, Mytsraym is the name for Egypt and Hadabar, and his descendants formed the ancient Mytsray civilization, one of the most influential cultures of the ancient world. The monuments, art, and religious practices of ancient Mytsraym have left an indelible mark on history. Put. The people of Put are believed to have settled in regions corresponding to modern-day Libya and North Africa, contributing to the diverse tribal cultures found in that area. Kanaan. The descendants of Kanaan inhabited the land of Kanaan, which covers modern Yasharal, now known as Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Syria and Yarden, or the Jordan. They were known for their city-states, such as Tyre and Sidon, and for the cultural practices that often put them at odds with Yasharalim in the accounts recorded in Hadabar. Barashit, chapter 9:25. And he said, "Cursed is Kanaan, let him become the servant of servants to his brothers." Here are the historical implications. Kham's descendants are often associated with the early development of significant civilizations that laid the foundations for later empires. Ancient Mytsraym, in particular, represents a peak of human achievement in architecture, writing, and governance, shaping future societies in profound ways. The Kanaanim, despite their eventual decline, played an integral role in the history of the Yasharalim as described in Hadabar. The lineage of Yapath. The Indo-European people's genealogical overview. Yapath is considered the ancestor of the Indo-European Goyim, or nations. His bunim included Gumar, Magog, Madai, Yawan, Tubal, Mashak, and Tiras. Gumar. The descendants of Gumar are linked to the Cimmerians, an ancient people who inhabited areas north of the Black Sea and later migrated into parts of Europe. Magog. The descendants of Magog are associated with nomadic tribes in the regions that include parts of present-day Russia and Central Asia. In the Nabu or prophecy of Hadabar, Magog is sometimes mentioned in apocalyptic contexts. Madai, the Medes, a powerful group that contributed to the formation of the Persian Empire, descended from Madai. They were significant in overthrowing the Assyrian Empire and establishing one of the largest empires of their time. Yawan, or the Greeks. The descendants of Yawan are linked to the ancient Greeks, or Ionians, who played a critical role in shaping Western civilization through advancements in philosophy, art, and governance. Tubal and Mashak. These groups are believed to have settled in the Anatolian region, contributing to the cultures that arose in Asia Minor. Tiras, associated with early seafaring peoples, possibly the Thracians, who settled in parts of the Balkans and had interactions with both Mediterranean and Black Sea cultures. Barashit, chapter 9:27. Let Alua enlarge Yapath, and let him dwell in the tents of Sham, and let Kanaan become his servant. Here is the impact on ancient and modern cultures. The descendants of Yapath are recognized as the forebearers of many European and some Asian cultures. The spread of Indo-European languages and cultural practices can be traced back to these early descendants, influencing a wide range of societies from the early Greeks and Romans to modern European and Indian civilizations. Significance of the Table of Goyim, or nations. The Table of Goyim in Barashit, chapter 10, is more than a mere genealogical record. It reflects the ancient understanding of the spread of different peoples and the formation of early civilizations. The early generations listed in Barashit, chapter 10, form the oldest ethnographic record known to mankind. This chapter provides valuable context for the ethnic relationships of the Goy that played out in the later narratives in Hadabar, such as the interactions between Yasharal and neighboring Goyim. It also offers a historical framework that helps bridge the gap between the mythical and archaeological records. Each of these lineages of the Bunim of Noach would soon spread outward from the region surrounding the mountains of Ararat. The descendants of Sham, Kham, and Yapath laid the foundation for a tapestry of cultures that spanned continents and centuries. From the Shamim, who shaped the heart of Northeast Africa, now known as the Middle East, to the Khamim, who built some of the earliest, largest civilizations in Africa and Mesopotamia, and the Yapatim, who spread into Europe and Asia. The legacies of the Bunim of Noach echo through history. By understanding their genealogies and historical implications, we gain insight into the roots of human civilization and the intricate web of connections that define the ancient world, and highlight the contributions to the spiritual and moral dimensions of human history which continued through the Bunim of Noach. Early expansion and the first settlements. The initial generations multiplied gradually, then began migrating southward into Mesopotamia, westward toward Anatolia and Kanaan, southwest into Mytsraym and North Africa, northward and eastward into the vast plains of Asia. But migration was not directionless. It was influenced by climate, resources, and geography. Yet something else shaped these movements: the unseen realm. Certain regions became hotspots of early spiritual activity, Mesopotamia most notably, due to its historical connection to pre-flood knowledge and its strategic importance as a crossroads of civilization. The re-emergence of pre-flood behavior. Anchors from Hadabar. Bereshit, chapter 8, 21. Tahalim, Psalms, chapter 14. Yeshayahu, or Isaiah, 53, 6. Though the Shamarim, who transgressed against the Torah of their laws, were imprisoned, the ideas, systems, and temptations they introduced before the flood did not disappear. Humanity retained the memory of forbidden knowledge, the desire to establish authority, the inclination toward idolatry, the hunger for power, and because the post-flood world lacked the restraining influence of Adon or Eden, or the direct proximity to the presence of Yahuwah that early mankind enjoyed, these tendencies resurfaced very quickly. The writings preserve early warnings spoken both by Nabiam, Daud, and Yahuwah concerning human ambition. Yeshayahu, or Isaiah 53, 6. We all like sheep went astray. Each one of us has turned to his own way, and Yahuwah has laid on him the wickedness of us all. Tahalim, or Psalms, chapter 14. The fool has said in his heart, there is no Yahuwah. They have done corruptly. They have done an abominable deed. There is no one who does good. Yahuwah looked down from the Shemayim on the Bunim of mankind to see if there was a wise one seeking Yahuwah. They have all turned aside. They have together become filthy. No one is doing good, not even one. Have all the workers of wickedness no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat matzah, and do not call on Yahuwah? There, they are in great fear. For Yahuwah is with the generation of the righteous. You who would put to shame the counsel of the poor, but Yahuwah is his refuge. Oh, that the deliverance of Yasharal would be given out to Zion, when Yahuwah turns back the captivity of his people. Let Yashar rejoice. Let Yasharal be glad. Bereshit, chapter 8, 21. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. This condition made the reformation of rebellion not only possible, but inevitable. As families multiplied, so did cultural distinctions. And as distinctions formed, so did the seeds of cultural superiority, rivalry, and the pursuit of dominance. These seeds would soon find a leader capable of organizing them into the world's first centralized civilization. Bereshit, chapter 11, 1 through 4. And it came to be, all the Arats had one language and one speech. And it came to be, as they departed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower, whose top is in the Shemayim, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over all the face of the Arats. Mashalim, or Proverbs, chapter 16, 18. The highway of the straight is to turn away from evil. He who guards his chai, or life, watches over his way. Before destruction, pride, and before a fall, a haughty spirit. This concludes section 1.3.2, the first human migrations, and continues into section 1.3.3, the conditions that enabled early civilization. Shalom, brothers and sisters.